343 recently announced that campaign co-op is finally coming to Halo Infinite. Since then, they've given us a ton of information about how the co-op mode will work, and so in this video, I'll be summarizing everything we know so far about co-op in Halo Infinite. So jumping straight into it, Halo Infinite's co-op mode will have crossplay enabled, meaning we will be able to play with up to 3 friends across both Xbox and PC. Next, when starting up a game of co-op, all players will have to choose a save file. The game then sets the current mission to the mission of the least progressed player. They do this to make sure no one gets left behind and no one's skipping ahead in missions. And it's worth noting here also that when setting up the skulls for the session, you'll be able to choose between any skull that at least one person has unlocked, which is really cool because it means that everyone can kind of bring their own progress to the table. And one last thing before we move into gameplay is that you won't be able to join games in progress. So if you have a friend who wants to join mid-session, you will all have to go back to the lobby, invite them, and then restart the session. It has to be done this way because of how they've set up the co-op, where at the start of the game, the mission is set to the least progressed player. Alright, so moving on to the actual gameplay. I know we all wanted to play as our multiplayer Spartans, but unfortunately 343 has made the decision that we will all be playing as Master Chief. The reason 343 gave for this is because they wanted us to all play our own Master Chief stories just together, which I guess makes sense, but an option to play as our multiplayer Spartans still would have been nice. For those of you who like to troll around a bit or just enjoy some banter, good news, friendly fire is enabled, so you will be able to damage and kill your friends if you're into that. Moving on from there, any progress made by any player, whether it's picking up a collectible, killing a boss, or finishing a mission, will count as progress for the whole squad. This is really cool because it means if one person finds a collectible, not everyone has to run all the way over there to pick it up, as it'll count for the whole squad with just the one person collecting it. We also learned that enemies will be scaling in co-op. Now 343 didn't touch on specifically how this will work, whether it'll be increased health for the enemies or just more enemies in general, but they did let us know that the enemies will be using slightly different tactics in co-op than they do in single player, so keep an eye out for that. Now on to the age-old question, what happens when you die? Now in life, I'm not too sure, but in Halo Infinite co-op, it will be the same as basically every other Halo title. When you die, you'll be forced to spectate your friends until they're in a safe area for you to respawn. Now this one's slightly controversial, but 343 have also added a distance restriction that you must stay within in relation to the other players. Now 343 are calling this the area of operations, and what it is basically 2 zones. Firstly, a warning zone of around 245 meters, where as the name suggests, if you go beyond that, you'll get a warning on screen telling you that you're going a bit too far. Secondly, the kill zone of 300 meters. If you go beyond this distance from your friends, you will instantly be killed and forced to respawn back with the squad. The reason 343 gave for implementing this was because they want the game to be played together and not have everyone just go off on their own doing their own thing. To be honest, I don't think this is too big of a deal because when you think of past Halos, you never really roam away from each other. You do tend to just stay as a squad and work together to complete mission by mission. Obviously, with the open world, it could affect this a lot more, but we'll have to wait and see. One final feature on the gameplay side is that if you have skills or abilities unlocked that your friends don't have, they won't be taken away from you and you'll be able to use them as normal, even in parts of the game where you shouldn't have those abilities yet. Keep in mind though, you having unlocked a certain ability doesn't mean your friend will also have that ability, they will still have to unlock that themselves. And finally, in terms of the narrative or the cutscenes, there will only ever be one Master Chief, so this will be no different from the single player campaign. And after any mission cutscenes, all players will be teleported and pulled to the host and all spawn around him ready to start the next mission. Alright, and with all that said, that's basically everything we know about Halo Infinite's co-op mode, so I hope you have a better idea of what to expect now when the mode finally launches. And as always, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like, as it really helps the channel and I really do appreciate it, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. Laters.